Welcome to the Forum Thread Podcast number 6. I am your host, Dark One Dry. Here with us today we have Chaos Mana.
Hello.
Feedback. There we go. The feedback is gone.
Feedback is our special guest.
Mr. Fusion.
Good evening, everyone.
Sweetman. And Spy.
Uh-huh.
And we are coming to you into your living room, into your home, into your computer, and into your iPod. Be ready for a total invasion.
Invasion.
I watched
So what were you saying about the new Xbox?
Yes, let's start with that.
Well, I mean, just scrolling through Kotaku, I didn't get a chance to the past few days, and the first one that just jumps out at me is the next Xbox will require an internet connection to start games, sources say, and then I'll just read this bit here. Two Kotaku sources have added more credence to the rumor that the next Xbox, expected to battle the PlayStation 4 in late 2013, early 2014, will be an always online system, though it will be able to tolerate drop connections.
I can be like the
I know that
side.
I think we've kind of touched about it in the past. That's kind of a rumor that they've dropped it out there, and PlayStation did last year, and they got a lot of negative review.
Yeah.
But it looks like Xbox is going forward with this. What do you guys think about that?
Go figure. Microsoft would be the dickhead to go ahead and do that.
Wait, did you say is PlayStation going to be like that?
No, PlayStation, when they announced the 4 system, they didn't show the damn system. They didn't show much, but just
they didn't
the
tell
games.
you anything.
And then afterwards, they went on Twitter because people were bombarding them with questions like, "Hey, is it gonna have to always be always online?" And they stated no, it's not. We did not confirm it then because we want to leave something out there to wet the palate, which is a bunch of crap in my opinion. But they've said no, they're not going to be an always on system. But Xbox brought this out there last year at the same time PlayStation did. Like I said, there was a big backlash online about that, and Microsoft kept it hush-hush, but this is the second time as we get closer to where they should be debuting it pretty soon because we got all the conventions coming up in the next couple months, so...
what if they have a trial at RTX?
But that's kind of
it would be nice.
It's kind of a ridiculous thing to try and do yet. I can understand maybe if we do have a next console generation, then doing an always online, but we don't, even in the United States, we don't have stable internet connections everywhere.
I think that they're not really thinking about what they can do to make more money.
No.
I mean, if it was offline, wouldn't it be easier just to... I mean, that makes it harder to play the game, so why would you want to buy it if it had to be online? If you were living in a place where no internet was required, then you couldn't take it anywhere.
I agree.
I mean, with the fact that Xbox is already trying to compete with computer, which seems to be catching on a lot more PC gaming, and then they're going to pull something like this, which is going to make a lot more of their fans kind of just be disinterested you're going to make it harder to play, you're going to get less people playing.
I know, seriously. I mean, I always play with an internet connection, that's granted, but I know that I don't always have an internet connection. If I wanted to go up and visit my family on vacation and I take my Xbox, they don't have internet out in the middle of nowhere, so I would not be able to play my games then if I was on vacation. And that's just a dick move. You can't do that.
Well, and it was in Afghanistan, everybody had Xboxes. Like at any big base or fob or whatever, there was, people would have video games and stuff like that. And a buddy of mine had a computer, he got StarCraft too. And he know that it was one of those always online things.
Oh.
Plugs it in and he's like, oh, well, I got this sent over here for nothing.
That would be just ruin my day. Probably my week.
I kind of get where they're coming from. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand. They're gearing up for the Steambox thing. Once Valve, once they come out with the Steambox, they want to be able to say, well, we were there first. We were in that market as well. We were there first, and
it would make sense if we had have you guys heard about Google Fiber? It's kind of been all
I
over.
want to touch on that a little later. Let's definitely go back to that Google Fiber. But go ahead and go with your point.
I've heard of that.
That just reminded me about something I saw yesterday.
Because it would make sense if we had something like Google Fiber that was nationwide, like they were hoping to accomplish eventually. Then doing an always online thing would actually make sense, because you could, everyone would have a relatively inexpensive, stable internet connection that they could connect to just about anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that type of decision would then make sense. Yeah, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, small sacrifice. But even like people that are living in the city don't always have stable internet connections. Like Wubwave, who always has such a shitty internet connection and drops out of our podcasts all the
And
time.
he has to resort to going to McDonald's to try to
it's
be
like
a part of the podcast. Yeah, you're right about that, definitely.
It's like, so they're not taking into consideration like a big chunk of their fan base. They're just going to completely bend them over and screw them out.
I don't see. I mean, is it so? How confirmed is this? Is this just like a rumor floating around, or is
This
this
is
actually confirmed from an official
Kotaku
source?
number 2. So
It's as close to fact as it can be without the company itself admitting it.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, because
There's a bunch of Twitter stuff about it too.
yeah,
I would hate to
When-
make the Nintendo console my favorite for the next go around.
Are they going to allow? I mean, probably yes, but are they going to allow like you can transfer over your achievements and stuff?
I imagine that's a given.
Yeah,
Especially
Everyone's
since
like,
they did that with the original to the 360, they did that, so I don't see why they wouldn't this time around as well.
They had achievements in the original.
Well, no,
Well,
but
at
as
the
far
tail
as
end
your
of it.
account content as friends and gamer pictures or anything of that sort went, it all transferred over.
well, and like Dark was mentioning, I don't know. I assume only maybe more than one in this cast today don't know what Google Fiber is. And this is another reason why Google is just a bad motherfucker when it comes to
Yeah.
the technologies.
I would so
industry.
let Google make me their bitch.
It could be, yeah. I'm seriously, they're a great company to work for. I mean, they feed their employees. They have all you can eat buffets in their office. They've invested tons of money into green energy. They're just a really good company. And Google Fiber, they've taken the fiber optic lines in cities that can support it, and right now it's in Kansas and Missouri. If I'm correct, it's
Why-
both
why
Kansas.
I didn't
there?
know about Missouri, but I knew about
But-
Kansas.
The way it works is it's a gigabit connection in your home, and the
It's
rate
heavenly.
starts. The rate starts at 70. Well, it starts at they offer a free partial megabit connection of 5. So like right now in my home here in Houston, I have up until last week it was the package that I have. I pay about $70 a month because I don't have cable TV, which I'll say it right now. I hate Comcast. I hate them. They're a horrible company. They're the bastion of evil. And but they offer my connection. They up the speed, the bandwidth this week to 40. So 40 megabits is what I'm paying for $70 a month. Well, Google is going to offer in the fiber package. You pay a $300 construction fee for every single package they offer. So you pay this one-time fee, and the free internet that they offer after the fee is 5 megabits for free. So basically, what you're paying for at DSL at like $15 a month, $20 a month through Comcast or your other broadband cable companies, you're getting it for free with Google.
I did not know
as
that.
long as
That's
you pay the
actually pretty
construction
badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is badass. The next step, which is the big one, is kind of their end user. They want to hopefully everyone get is the gigabit itself. You pay the $300 construction fee, you get your gigabit, plus you get 1 terabyte of Google Drive storage. Okay,
Oh my gosh.
$70 a month. The next package they have is the gigabit and the TV with the TV and the internet
Gigabit
connection.
T.
$120 a month, plus they give you 2 terabyte storage for DVR and your Google Drive. And not only that, but if you have a Nexus 7, they give you a free app that can turn your Nexus 7 into a remote for the system, monitor and remote. So right now, it's in Kansas, and what I've been told from a few people in forums over there, they freaking love it. It's unbelievable.
So-
it's no
So
droppage.
it's like just super fast and such.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fiber optic cable, so there's really the signal. They can send it as strong as they can without having any hiccups in it. And
That would be
There's a much lower error
that would be
rate.
interesting to have a game with no lag at all.
exactly.
Yeah,
Not
that's
only
as
that,
close as
but
you can get to it, I think.
they
Well,
just
that
announced.
we have now
Apparently,
anyways.
there's a rumor that came out on Friday that the city of Austin here in Texas is making a
Yay.
major announcement with Google, and it's supposed to be for Google Fiber. So
Oh,
there's gonna be a
that
lot of
would be
people
awesome.
in Austin
What?
that'd be very happy. Yeah.
Because
they, they need to put one city over.
Yeah, everything
you
that
know
I've
what?
heard about it so far has been absolutely amazing. So if it keeps up with this type of what do you call it? Publicity, this type of
Yeah.
publicity, I can see this, spreading like wildfire everywhere, and like there would be no stopping them at this point. And I would be perfectly okay with that. Like they're one of those few big companies that I am completely behind, and like everything that they stand for.
They do things the right way, you know. They really
Like,
do.
and they're major innovators because in addition to doing the Google Fiber, I mean they're experimenting with the Google car that drives itself, and the Google Glass, which
so
gives
it's
us
just gonna,
augmented
we're gonna
reality.
just turn into a future of Google.
Yeah, pretty
You know
much.
who they should hook up with? They should hook up with Red Bull.
Red Bull.
They're always
'Cause
doing,
they're doing
all
all
kinds of
kinds of crazy
ridiculous.
stuff. They sponsored what's his name, Felix Baumgartner,
Yep.
who had the longest or the highest free fall.
Huh.
He broke the speed of sound, like just falling.
That would be an interesting
Interesting.
pair to see. I would be excited to see some of the stuff they could come up with.
Well, and but most of you guys are, reasonably, at a very good level when it comes to tech savviness. So let's just, ask everybody, if it was in your city, they announced on Tuesday, like they're supposed to
Yes.
be in Austin. They say, okay, we're gonna start in 2 months. We're gonna do the installations, $300 flat fee and $70 a month. I mean, who wants to oppose 1 gigabit in their home? Anyone?
No.
No, I would be like,
There's
I
like
would
a
be
small
fighting
group of
people.
people that are picketing outside the Google office saying no bit.
no, I would be fighting people to get up in line and be like, no, you all get out of my way. I knew about this before you fuckers did. Let me get
What's
in line
it-
first.
It's funny you mentioned that because this will probably be the first time that, when you have these hipsters waiting in line for, Apple products at the stores all the time looking like dumbasses, this will probably be the one time
Yes.
no one will make fun of them, right?
Yeah.
or they'll just do it anyway.
That's very true.
And have you
So-
guys heard about the Google Glass?
Heard about it.
Is it that
The glasses?
It's
Yes.
it's not an actual pair of glasses. The one I've seen is actually just like one lens over one eye.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it
I
brings.
thought I was gonna say it was that like robotic type of eye which can like take pictures and do
Yeah,
lots of
you
different
talk
other
to
stuff.
it like a smartphone, and it can do everything for you. But what it does though is really neat. At least the concepts that I've seen is really neat. Is that it brings augmented reality like to your world, not just by holding up a phone and looking through the phone's camera, but by having the camera on the glasses and just being able to look around. If you want GPS directions somewhere and you're walking on a sidewalk, you can then see the arrow you're supposed to follow like appear on the sidewalk in front of you.
That seems
Yeah.
like too futuristic for today's technology. That would be amazing.
That's what Google's vision is, though. And if you see what they're doing
Google Vision.
with the success they've had with the cars that drive themselves,
Yeah.
like it's phenomenal. Like I was not expecting the type of success that they had in like what was it 5 to 7 years that they had this in development before they actually licensed it on the road, and it performs better than most human drivers. It's amazing. So
I'm watching a preview of the Google Glasses right now, and it's just sick to be able to just see that information right there in front of you.
The only thing, like I've seen with, like I have Siri and stuff on my iPhone, and I know that that's not always great, like with the voice recognition. I mean, it's good, but sometimes I'll say something or like a word that it doesn't really understand, and then you're just out to lunch.
like I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
did.
understand that.
Yeah.
Oh, one big problem with that technology is some people have clearer voices than others. So a person that has a very hard to understand accent, well, they're just kind of out of
Yeah,
luck.
like that. Did you hear about that guy that tried to sue Apple because Siri didn't recognize his voice?
Oh, man.
It's like I guess he thought that Apple was just like picking on him in particular because his voice was hard to understand. I don't think he got
Why
anywhere
can't
with it.
I
But
be understood in this theory?
I
Yeah.
think there's
Well,
it's either apps or it's an official thing with Siri that you can just keep reading certain sentences and whatnot, and it tries to sync it to your voice better. So,
yeah,
I
there's a
mean,
whole learning. I can't talk. A
Yeah,
learning
good learning.
curve that you can teach her your voice. Oh,
That's interesting.
And sometimes she can be really smart. Like there's one of my coworkers. He was just testing out what he could say to her, and so he pulled out his phone and he's like, Siri, where can I find them naked ass whores? And she goes, hold on while I find you an escort. And it pulled up how far away the nearest escort service was for her or for him. He's like, wow, she actually knew what I meant by naked ass whores. This is really cool.
Well, there are people
Wow.
that designed it. It's not just a machine, so.
Yeah, but you know, with how Apple is, where they won't even let you swear and we use with autocorrect,
That's
you
true.
think that'd be one of the things they're like, oh no, she can't know what
Well,
that means.
Oh no, you've seen some pretty, I don't know how to put it, gruesome autocorrect stories of words.
Yeah,
that switched in just
why
the wrong
is
place.
why is it that bad? Oh, can you? I don't have a smartphone, but is it easy to turn off autocorrect, or is it just on for no reason?
It's
Well,
just on.
I thought
The
it was in the
autocorrect-
settings somewhere.
Yeah, the autocorrect for Android platform, which is what I have, is not that bad. It doesn't. It's not like iPhone, which learns your phrases.
Yeah.
So like Apple doesn't just have a autocorrect. It has a auto prediction that it tries to do for you. So as you're typing, you may spell your words correctly, but it may think we're predicting you're actually going to say this instead of what you're actually typing. And then if you click that instead of continuing on with your normal word, then it's actually going to change what you're saying, even though what you're saying is technically correct.
It's mostly pretty good. Like sometimes I'll have a word that I spell it wrong and it's actually another word, but based on the sentence, it doesn't make any sense, and it'll switch it. To
I think what it should do is
meant to
just
say.
like highlight it red like it does in like Firefox.
Yeah, and that's what the Android platform used to do before this most recent update. It would just underline all my misspelled words, but now it actively corrects my misspelled words. And you've seen the way I type. I use a lot of different words, and I have a pretty big vocabulary. I just don't know how to spell everything that I know how to say.
No doubt.
And so when I'm trying to type something, she'll think I'm typing in something else. I'm like, no, I know what I'm trying to say. Why can't, don't try and autocorrect it to something else. That's why
Toby Turner did a really good video on autocorrect.
I think I've seen that one actually.
To.
Yes, I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Why? I mean, autocorrect seems like a good feature, but why would they not let you turn it off? That's the most, biggest point I have. Why would they not allow you to turn that off?
Because
They
they
didn't
know
think
better
people wouldn't
than you
want it?
do.
I mean,
Oh, because then you'd have the old ladies that get their iPhones given to them for Mother's Day, and they turn off autocorrect and they're trying to type and they don't know how to type on the little touchpad, and they wind up just making a jumble of words, and then they just tell their kids, cancel my service, I don't know how to use my phone. So they just don't let them turn it off, just to be safe.
That's it.
No one said it was a
that
good
seems like
reason,
a smaller
but yeah.
group of people to cater to. I mean, people that are using smartphones constantly are the ones that are affected by autocorrect.
Yeah, but this is what I call it. With technology, you have the lowest common denominator, which is that end user is the average user. That's who they cater towards.
Right.
People like us that are we find a piece of electronics or technology, and we can adapt to its needs and our needs and become faster with it. We're not the rule. We're the exception. The dumbasses out there that
Oh,
they can't
hell.
turn on their fucking phone. They're the rule. Okay,
Yeah.
and
As
so
far as
that's
technology goes, it's just
yeah.
the least intelligent person has to be able to figure it out. It's not like we're shooting for the average; they're shooting for the lowest. Because,
Yeah.
They have
you
they
know,
have
if they
to put
can
them
get
in
across
mind
money,
whenever
why
they
not?
make their products, because that's who. I mean, the majority. They're the majority. They're going to buy the large amount of the product, so they have to always include them into their design. When it's R&D time, they have to say, okay, how is a dumbass going to be able to use this piece of equipment?
Then they should have like two. They should have two versions, and one for us and one for them.
The expert version and the common version.
Expert version could be a little cheaper, and the common version could be an extra.
No, the
50
the
bucks.
common version has that guy from blank for dummies books.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
That would be perfect, actually. Good marketing for him, too. Little stick figure with the weird squiggly hair.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of Waldo.
He does, doesn't he? He's got this same blank stare that Waldo has. And I've always wondered, why on earth would anyone want to find Waldo? He's got no fashion sense, and his face is just so fugly. It's like, so is he one of those Down syndrome kids that someone lost in a crowd and you're just doing a favor to their grandmother to try and find
Possibly.
them?
No, maybe he stole your money and you're looking for him.
That's it. He's a
He
wanted
goes to the
criminal.
most.
He
He
doesn't
goes
look...
to the most interesting places. He goes to the most interesting places.
He does. It's like, I don't know, if you were on hallucinatory drugs or something like that. He went to the heaven for that.
Yeah.
Did anybody see that the status that my post from this morning with the rainbow shower head?
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was
That
Yeah,
was
so
trippy.
wait, I saw that, but I didn't read too much into it. What would is that paint? Or
No,
like how is that
Heat
happening?
sensing tiles.
Yes, I actually looked this up. Ken and I we looked it up after I posted that, and there's a company that they come in all sorts of different colors, not just black, where you can depending on how hot it is and how cold it is, the tiles will change color.
I dropped
It's-
a link to it on the.
Oh,
comments.
so it's not the water that's changing?
No,
No.
it's the tile.
No.
Yeah, the water had LED lights behind it, so the water coming out looked
Right.
rainbow colored, but the heat from the water on the
Ah.
tiles was actually changing it. And you can actually have your bathroom floor done with this type of stuff, and if you walk across it barefoot, you'll actually leave colored footprints that will slowly
Oh.
fade.
That would
As
be
you-
awesome.
Yeah, it is really damn awesome. I told Ken that when we build our dream house that we are going to have a bathroom, a big one made with those tiles, so that anything you touch glows.
Why wouldn't you just post it all over your house?
Well, it would get it'd get distracting having
Yeah.
psychedelic colors everywhere. Just have
And
to
the other
have-
thing is, you don't want guests to knock on the door. They walk in and they see a wall with somebody's butt cheeks pressed against it. You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
that could be
yeah,
a
I
little
think
bit
it's-
awkward.
I think it
Sounds
came
like
at the
some
wrong
James
time,
Bond
guys.
Yeah.
That would be kind of awesome. Now that I think about it, you could really fuck with people like that.
You know what
This
they
is where
have?
the term "too much of a good thing" would come in.
Online on that same website or one related to it, they do have the color changing toilet seats. So you can tell when someone's been sitting on the toilet seat because it'll have an outline of their ass in a different color while
That's
it's still
awesome.
warm.
Can you
technology
choose? Can you
grand.
for the tiles? Can you choose the colors, or is it just like red and blue?
No, they've got like on the website I went to, they had like 7 or 8 different colors, and they all changed. Like they had like a brown color, a black color, a red color, an orange color, and a couple in betweens. They didn't have all of the colors, but they had a pretty decent selection. A lot more than I was expecting. I thought they're.
How much would something like that cost?
Oh, I don't know. I never look at the price of these things. I just look at what they do.
That's a
Right,
dream.
when you see something that ridiculous, looking at the price is more or less pointless.
Yeah, it's like you decide whether or not if you just put it in on the list of, okay, this is something I would like to have best case scenario in my dream home. And then if you do get into the situation where you're building said dream home, then you look at how much that thing is going to cost.
That's
Until
like
then,
heated floors. They're not
you
cheap
you
either,
look
so
at
you
it
just-
and it's like over $9,000.
you're like, oh yeah, maybe that dream is just a little too far fetched. We'll try again next time.
Try again tomorrow.
The next dream house we build. That's the one. We'll have that one in there.
Speaking of expensive things, there's a guy in town here that drives a Nissan GTR. It's like $110,000, and
I've not seen one of those yet, but I've heard of them.
they're really nice, super fast, beautiful piece of machinery. Anyways, I was driving around town this week for a course at work, and I was driving a Bison armored vehicle, which is like this great big green beast, 8 wheels. My head like sticks out of it when I'm driving it. Like there's no windshield or anything.
Wow.
And so I was driving down the road and I saw the Nissan driving by the other way, and the guy driving it looks up and he's like staring at me driving. And I was like, the only other car on the road that I'd rather be driving, he's staring at me.
And then you
I thought that was
then you
pretty
looked
cool.
at each other. Then you had a race.
I was gonna say, and then you guys shared a moment, or decided to get together for drinks.
I was just really happy because it's like, you know, I like my car, but that's something like if I could ever afford one, I
You
think
get
that'd be
out of your
awesome.
car and ask him to trade on the spot.
Oh yeah,
You know, my dream car would be would probably be a Lotus. I really like the way they look. I don't remember how much they cost. I know they're really, really expensive, but they're sexy as hell.
yeah, they're pretty sleek, eh?
Yeah, if there was like I have to deal with a lot of cars working at CarMax, and most of them I really don't care for. But like the Lotus is one of those cars. If we actually got one of those in, it would never happen. But if we got one of those
Yeah.
in, I would be tempted to just take it to the back lot and have sex with its tailpipe. That's like, they're
Like
that, they're
Ted
that
in
sexy.
that movie.
I'm like,
The teddy bear Ted. Huh? He was
Yeah.
humping the.
No,
register.
as you're doing that, you just turn it again and say sorry. I found
sorry, I've got the Lotus now. It
It's
and I
on your
we're
celebrity list.
we're connected in a way that no one else
you
will
won't ever
understand.
That's funny.
Wouldn't be the first time something like that had happened. I had a very similar feeling when the original the Xbox 360 first came out, and I got the controllers and I unwrapped them, and like they smelled of new technology. I'm like, and they're wireless. I'm like, oh, this is so awesome, and I had to put them in my pants just because. I just had to.
You're like,
I like the
this
way
is
that you said that.
stuff.
It was like a requirement.
It was. Yeah, I just couldn't not do it. I had to
the
apologize to
vibration
everyone that was in the room. I'm sorry. This is too awesome. They're going in my pants. After that,
And then
it
you
was
left
okay.
him there for 5 days, and everyone was just staring at you awkward the whole time.
Yeah,
No,
at church on Sunday they were like, "Can you please take out the controllers? People are starting to
No,
ask
like they're
questions."
wireless. I can take them anywhere, bitch.
No,
That would be funny. You want to play some Xbox?
you
Sure. He
could
starts
play-
grabbing his nuts, and the Xbox comes on.
You could play,
You
no,
just
could
thought
play
I
your
was well
games by
endowed.
just-
There was really a controller in my
No,
pants.
you could play your games by just wiggling your torso.
They'd have a very, very is the word very talented member down there to be able to do that.
Oh yeah.
Be like a probably like an elephant. They've got way too much control over what they can do with that thing.
Yeah, that's funny. We were talking earlier, right before the podcast started, about Minecraft, and we know a lot of people.
So we go from
except-
elephant penises back to Minecraft. Okay,
Yes, yes.
changing gears.
Well, I wanted to talk about this real quick because we were discussing just creating art on Minecraft on the creative mode, and I see some of the stuff people do, and I'm just wondering how the hell do people have the time and patience to do that? Because I spent a couple hours today trying to build a house on Dark's server, and I'm just kind of like, I'm fried at this point, so I don't understand how someone can like create the
Yeah.
entire enterprise on their map.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm creating the big shell in Minecraft, which is this huge oil rig or oil rig disguise, and that's a massive project. It's one of the reasons I didn't start it for a while because it takes so long just to do.
Yeah, you've
Well,
been
it doesn't
working on
look
that
like
for
much.
like a month now, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, I haven't been working on it constantly. I'm working on it whenever I find the time.
Well, that's the same
But-
way with the palace that I've been building in New Canterbury, which you helped me with originally. It's just such a massive project that now that you can tell what it is, and you're like, yeah, that's a really impressive palace, and then you look at it from the side and it's half of it's missing. You're like, oh, okay. It's just taking the time to fill in all the missing pieces. Like the front's done, so it looks really cool from the front, but once you look at it from the side, you're like, hey, where's the rest of it? But for building big projects like this, for me anyway, I think you have to have a solid plan of action with what you're going to do. Like even if you have to go to the point of kind of drawing out a rough schematic of how it's going to go down, that way when you actually get into the Minecraft world, you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. This is how I'm going to do it, and you just get right to it. You don't have to sit there and plan trying to think, okay, I've got X amount of space. How am I going to do this? You figure all that out before you try it.
Yeah, no doubt. I started to rebuild the walls, if you guys know what that map is. on the Xbox version. So essentially, it's just the 4 sections with a whole environment contained in it, where you set your stuff up.
Wait, what's
The
that
walls
from?
drop. It's Minecraft. It was I don't know who originally made it, but it's
No, I've
Is
never
it-
heard of that.
Is it a game?
It's a multiplayer game mode, kind of like how they
Yeah.
have.
You should explain it
Hunger
because
Games map.
I've never heard of it before. Tell
Yeah,
us about it.
was it in a Let's Play?
No, I don't think Rooster Teeth did a Let's Play. It's just some videos I came across on YouTube from various Minecraft people. But essentially, it's four. I did mine 64 by 64 chunks, where it's just basically it's an environment. You got your trees and whatnot on top, and you do the whole cave system underneath, and you put. I was trying to put the same amount of stuff in every square, so essentially it's just mirrored in all four, and there's these a sand wall, which is why it's called the wall, that will drop after I don't know 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how much prep you want to give them. And after the walls drop, you all charge in and fight each other. with
Yeah,
whatever
that sounds
traps
just
or
like one
various
of the
things you
Let's
can
Plays
make.
that they did. Like
Maybe they're doing
Gavin blew or Jeff blew him and Michael up, I think.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, it was like this, and oh yeah, Gavin blew a hole in the sand wall.
Oh, right, yes, they did one. That was just a surface one, though. There was nothing under it, I don't think, or there wasn't much. The one I was working on was like entire, you could mine down to bedrock and find diamond and whatnot. But I started that, and I got the frame out. I got like the base level with lava and stuff done. I started a cave on one of them. And then just having to go back and mirror this 3 other times to try and do it exactly in Xbox, because with the PC, they can just use World Edit and copy it 4 times. It's just, yeah, big projects aren't exactly ideal to do if you don't have them fully planned out.
Hell,
It's
especially on
overwhelming.
Xbox.
Just
That
don't
was one of the hardest things. I'm still not used to the interface on Xbox. I started on.
I mean, it
PC.
seems like a very simple interface.
It is,
the
but it's also
only-
very
The
limiting.
only problem
Yes.
that everyone seems to have with it is when they panic, they go into third person.
Yeah, because you start
Yeah.
button mashing and you end up changing the perspective. Yeah, that happens a lot.
And I don't know anyone that actually wants to play in third person. I don't know why that's so easy to do.
I mean, maybe if you just want to see your skin, but that's about it.
Yeah,
like,
but
look at
you
your
don't-
skin for a moment, like, oh, look at that, that looks cool.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you go
It's
back.
something you only look at once in a while. No one
think-
ever plays
I think
in
it
third
should be
person
like
though.
like a press, like you hold it down and you can view your character.
Yeah.
So then, if you accidentally tap it, your screen will flash for a moment, but that'll be it.
Like
Yeah.
in driving games.
What?
Like in driving games when you're trying to look behind you or whatever.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Like looking in the rearview mirror, you just hit the button and suddenly you're looking through the through the mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
I've not been able to talk all day today. Just keep falling over my words.
Well, I actually like the Xbox feel. It's a little simpler when it comes to like the crafting if you're playing survival mode.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why. Like playing both now for a few months, I can say I like the Xbox. I'm a little faster with the crafting. It's a little more tedious with the PC version, having to when you're in survival mode.
It's a bittersweet for me, because I do kind of miss putting in the pieces and actually forming the object myself.
Yeah,
And
there
then
was something
people
satisfying
asking,
about
trying
that.
to figure out how to make things, and you're like, oh, well, it's just this. Now it's just you open up and press a button, which is nice because you can do it faster and you don't really have to figure out how to build the tools. But it was just it was cool to see how they did the patterns for the tools and stuff. It's a bittersweet for me.
Yeah,
The
there
other
was-
thing is the online, like the multiplayer version it's subpar compared to the PC version. So.
Yeah, I've never tried playing or really much of multiplayer on the Xbox version. I think I played with Chaos for a little bit in one of the worlds that I was making.
Yeah, but there's many different problems with it. Like, it's one thing that I don't get about Minecraft is why it has so much lag problems within the RT's office. They're all right next to each other, and I'm assuming they have a really good internet. I mean, they're
Yeah.
hosting the site after all.
Well, shit,
Why
they
do
may be
they
having
have-
Google Fiber pretty soon.
Why do they have such problems with just loading a couple blocks next to them?
Yeah, it's really bad. I was on a server about 3 days ago where I had a full minute lag delay behind everyone
Wow.
else. Yeah, it's the worst game as far as lag goes that I've ever played on Xbox. So,
That's really sad.
hmm
A whole
That's
minute? Yes, it is.
that's got to be that has to be like Microsoft's problem, not actual Mojang's problem.
right.
Well, yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the Minecraft makers. It's just the way that it's handled. I mean,
Still, it
maybe
kind of
I
makes
think
me
actually
sad
I'm
though.
more. I think it's probably on both sides because a game like some games like Halo, they have barely any lag, and I would think that would require more data.
But you
Yeah,
got to think
probably.
Minecraft is like several individual pieces, so it has to monitor every single one because you can interact with all of it. As far as Halo goes, it's just a shell that you can't mess with, and then the players.
Yeah, with that's why they're able to do Forge so easily because it's just like little bits of data that they send, and there's only certain things that are actually adjustable. Yeah, I know where you're coming from on that because if you think about it, exactly what Minecraft is, the whole world is pretty much destructible, and the computer has to keep track of every single block and every
Right.
single chunk in the entire world.
And then the
It's
physics, if it has any, on that block.
Yeah, it's actually, when you think about it, it's actually kind of staggering, and that's one of the things that really impressed me when I first started playing Minecraft, is that this is one of the first programs that can actually render an entire world, and with its own physics, with its own creatures and everything, and it's an actual like living, breathing place, even though the physics themselves aren't believable, but in its own way, its own sealed universe type
What?
way.
You can't have floating dirt blocks in your house?
No, I've tried. It just gets the carpet dirty.
I would love diamond blocks in my house, just to be honest, just a couple,
Just
A
maybe
little
like,
little bit of bling bling.
yeah,
What
like
I would do
20 or
Impress the
30 of
honeys.
them,
if you could, the first thing I would do is just set out a tower of pimps right outside my house.
I don't know what I would do. Minecraft physics. Oh, okay. I would probably do something really cool with the water physics.
True, yes.
Having unlimited water come from one little tiny block. You'd actually solve the water problem on Earth.
No, if you let it go though, then all of a sudden you'd see in the news massive flooding.
Yeah,
no, it
you-
only goes about 6 blocks. We're good.
No. Someone could go on top of Mount Everest and drop a block of water on top. The next thing you know,
Asia's covered in water
Just go take it to a desert, make a lake out there. Be great.
yep,
because there's not enough flooding in Asia.
exactly. Well, that would be weird. Now, so talking on Minecraft, we had mentioned something about Battle Block Theater earlier.
Yes,
And
that
I was
game.
Completely
it's,
confused what that was.
it's a new game put out by Behemoth, the ones that did Alien Hominoid and Castle Crashers.
Okay.
Right, it was
I
put off-
failed at Hominid, but I loved Castle Crashers.
I think it was put off like 3 or 4 years. It's been like they had a playable demo at PAX like 3 years ago. I think they said on one of the RT videos.
Well,
But
it's good if some games have a delay for quality than submitting an unfinished game.
well, I would definitely say this is well worth the wait. I mean, me and Shaden, if you guys know him on the RT site, we've been playing it for the last 2 days, just nonstop, basically. It's just everything about it is fun. The cutscenes are hilarious. The animation style is great, just like their other games are. Essentially, it's a side-scrolling puzzle game with a little bit of, I don't know, fighting in there. But it's hilarious. Great animation style. But love it. It was well worth the wait.
Okay, I didn't really understand exactly what it's about, but you got me at kind of side-scrolling puzzle
It's
adventure.
essentially a side-scrolling puzzle map. It has a level editor, but it's the story is kind of just pretty basic. You're on an island, collect these, beat the levels, and get off. I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not entirely sure where they're going with the story.
So how are the puzzles set up? Are they kind of like the Donkey Kong series, where the levels themselves are kind of a puzzle you have to navigate, or
Right.
Or
Yeah,
oh, okay.
like certain blocks are movable, certain ones have hidden blocks, like you can go through them. It's
It's
essentially
almost like that. Almost like that Mario Portal game that they.
kinda, yeah. It's essentially like it is set up a lot like how the Mario levels are, where there's the obstacles and stuff. Except you
Okay,
need
I
could
to
get
get
into that.
collectibles to finish.
How much is this?
1,200 Microsoft points, which I think is about $15.
It's not bad.
No, it's really not. And it has a matchmaking mode as well for online, where you can do like capture the flag, Slayer, and a bunch of different variants that they came up with. So
Dominion. You could also do Renegade. Wait, Regicide. And like the whole
well,
list
there
seems
is one similar
suspiciously
to
familiar.
Regicide, sort of. It's there. You have it's more like Call of Duty's what is that one where you drop the dog tags and you have to collect them all? I don't remember the name
Kill
of it.
confirmed.
Right, kill
Kill
confirmed,
confirmed.
where you kill a player and they drop their soul.
Hmm.
And you have to go around and collect them, and the longer you hold their soul, the more points you get.
That sounds just like the skulls.
Sounds silly.
Very morbid.
It's very
but
silly.
okay.
It is a silly game. It's very
That's the
whimsical
whole
and
point, I
humorous.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I can appreciate that then. A game that knows that it's silly and owns it,
Right. Just like
I can get into that.
Alien Hominoid and Castle Crashers was. It's the very over-the-top, silly, ridiculous.
Yeah, but Alien Hominoid was so fucking hard. I could not beat.
Yeah.
I beat the first
This
level
game
and I
has
could not.
segments.
Yeah, I could not get past the second level. I tried and tried and tried like for a week straight, and I just finally gave up.
I'm
Like,
not gonna say
fuck.
it's not hard. Me and my friend just got past I don't know what to call it, the first section, the first 4 chapters.
Oh, shut
and,
up. Okay,
It's already ridiculously hard. Like, we thought we were close to the end because of how hard it was getting, and we realized we're maybe halfway.
Maybe. Then, no. Then after you finish that spot, then it's like, well, this was the tutorial level.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody actually knows if there's an end to that game because I don't know anybody that's actually beaten it.
How does it
Which one?
compare
This one
to?
or-
How does it compare to Little Big Planet?
I haven't played that, so I can't really compare it.
Neither have I. No, I was told, and from what I've seen, Little Big Planet actually plays a lot like the Mario games.
Right. From what I've seen, I would say it's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look too. That game didn't look too fun when I watched a bit of gameplay of it.
Didn't look too fun, dude. That game looked awesome. If I had a PlayStation 3, I would have actually already had both of those games.
I mean, I
Oh,
guess.
it won like Game of the Year.
I think it would be
Yeah.
better to play with like a partner.
It would probably
There's
be better,
co-op
but
and single player in it as far as
Yep.
the campaign levels go, but they alter it. So co-op is harder because you have that extra person.
hey, that's awesome. I love it when games do that.
Yeah. Seeing if I can find a video.
It's something else that you don't see very often in video games. It hit me when I was replaying Alice, American McGee's Alice, right before I played the sequel, Madness Returns. And in American McGee's Alice, you can pick the different difficulties. And I've actually beaten the game on every single difficulty. And the higher the difficulty, the more stuff and the more content you get to experience in the game. Like the levels are actually longer, the puzzle sequences actually have more to them. So the enemies aren't just more powerful and you're not just more fragile, but there's more of the world to
That's
experience
interesting.
on these harder difficulties. And you don't see that a lot in games anymore. You just, pick easy, medium, hard, or really hard, and that's it.
It's
Or
almost like a
really
new
easy,
game.
or casual.
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy, we just lost Spy.
He doesn't like the term casual.
Casual.
Speaking of Google Fiber,
Yeah, if only.
yeah,
Well,
I mean,
maybe he'll be back.
The big reason, the big hype about it is because I don't know if you guys know, but Austin, they have a lot of software companies, game companies, technology. I mean, it's a great little town where they have everything, a kind of a hodgepodge of all sorts of cultures in terms of like art and music and all that entertainment. But from the business standpoint, there's a lot of technology there, so I'm sure Google was like, because the rumor was last month that the next city to get Google Fiber was going to be this city, Houston, and it looks like Austin basically made a major push for it, and that's why they're going to be the next city to get fiber. So
When do you think San
I-
Antonio is going to get it?
Well, I mean, that's kind of hard to say because what they're. Well, you know what? I was gonna say that I see it kind of. I find it hard to believe that they would move that down that way. But the way they've been doing it is they started out in one city and then they moved down 30 or 40 miles over to the next city and add it there and add it there and add it there. So, yeah, if it's a success, which I predict it will be a major success in Austin, hey, you could look for it in San Antonio.
Yeah, I don't see why it would not do well in anywhere that they put it.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Spy. Yeah, we got talking about what were we talking about? It offended you, apparently. Whatever it was, you found it highly offensive and your internet dropped you. Wow, we didn't notice you dropped out until considerably later.
One thing I really like games adding is if it has a good co-op mode, because sometimes that really makes a game.
You know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Portal 2, I will point my finger at that as far as having a great multiplayer experience, because it's completely different than the single player experience. So in single player, you play as Chell, and you're going through the storyline. But then when you play co-op, you're two robots that were a side project of GLaDOS, and she's like pitting you against each other while you're working together. And like it blew my mind. I didn't even know it was there until after I beat the game, and I'm like, okay. Someone asked me if I wanted to play with them online. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll play through it on multiplayer. And then we started. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? This is not what I was expecting. And then I wound up just having like the time of my life. And I played it with them for about 4 hours until 2 a.m. until I couldn't see straight. I'm like, okay, I've got to go to bed now. I literally cannot think to solve these puzzles anymore.
Oh boy.
Yes, and that was brilliant. I give them major kudos for that, and I hope that other publishers are going to look at that, and other game developers are going to look at that and say, okay, our story mode is not going to work well for multiplayer, but we can still do multiplayer if we follow this setup. Now that would be interesting. Oh no!
I like what they did.
Go ahead.
I like what they did with Battlefield 3, which had a regular single-player campaign and then a separate co-op campaign that kind of fed into it. It was like the other guys that were involved in some of the stuff
makes sense.
Doing in the single player.
Which, one of the stupidest multiplayer games I've ever had.
What?
It's not the game itself. I thought was awesome. It was one of the first game I did that I got all 1,000 gamer score for was Viva Pinata. But the multiplayer, you invite someone to play in your garden with you, and you both have to kind of fight over controls for the camera, and they can just kind of water stuff in your garden. They can't actually do anything. They're just kind of an observer.
That's not really multiplayer. That's just like showing off.
Yeah. So I thought, hey, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's really cool to be able to build a garden with somebody. And then, no, my dreams were dashed to pieces because all they could do was just...
Your dreams of gardening with flowers are dashed.
No, with gardening with piñatas.
I haven't played that game.
If you haven't played the game, you don't know what you're missing. It is... Yeah.
They made a cartoon about it?
Yes, they did.
That.
The cartoon has nothing to do with the actual game, really.
No.
But
it's all the characters.
Yeah, it just has the characters. And there's so much to that game. That's one of the things I liked about it. Like, they don't tell you how to breed certain piñatas. Like, you have the snake piñata, but then they don't tell you that if you breed two of the snakes together and then you hit their egg right before it hatches, then it'll pop out it'll be a double-headed snake. And then if you get those snakes to eat different things, they can change colors. And then if the two sets of double-headed snakes do the romance dance, is what they call it, and then you smack that egg with its shovel right before it hatches, then you get one with 4 heads that pops out.
Gosh. Can you
So
just
that- yeah,
can you just keep on going until there's too many heads and then the game starts freezing up?
No, that's the extent of it. They all have names, but the girl that walks around the garden with you, she's kind of a hint dropper. She'll give off comments like, at one time she said one time I saw a serpent. That's the snake. A serpent with 2 heads, and then she's like sounds really upset that someone else had to go and top her. And she said that she saw a woman with 4 heads. How ridiculous is that? And so it makes you think. Okay, I wonder if I can figure out a way to breed these piñatas with 2 heads or 4 heads. And there's even one you can breed a swan and a pig together, and you get this horrible creature that comes out.
A donkey and a horse that make a mule sort of thing?
I don't remember. I know that they have the horse, the Horstachio, and I think they've got a donkey of some kind. I don't remember. It's been a few years since I've played, but I sank so much time into that game. It was ridiculous.
Oh, what game, like this is for everybody, what game do you all think you've spent the most time out of everything? What have you... just a specific game, not a series.
A specific game.
I've spent a lot of time on multiplayer in Halo 3. I've also... no. The game that takes the cake for me is going to be SimCity 4. I still sometimes play it on this computer. I bought it when it came out in 2003, the Rush Hour expansion pack, and have been modding it over the years. I'm part of the online communities there where you can download new buildings, and they have the updated... You can download new buildings, and there's new traffic systems that you can implement. So, because it's an old game and the traffic didn't make a lot of sense, so you can actually tweak the entire experience that way.
Make it so that every one in 100 cars have road rage.
No, it doesn't do that. It adjusts the AI that controls the flow of traffic. AI. What's the A stand for?
Okay, so what?
And it just
I'm going to
keeps...
say Halo 3 as well. Now that I think about all the games that I've put a lot of time in, Halo 3.
Mine's either Black Ops or...
Oh, one of my friends was really into Tony Hawk. I never could get into Tony Hawk. I have really fond memories of having everybody, like all my friends over, and I had a TV in my room, and I had a big stereo system. We'd blare Linkin Park while watching 2 people play Tony Hawk on the TV in my room, and I was fine with that. I had no desire to ever pick up their controller and play it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Funny little story about Tony Hawk. My nephew was in a band that has a song on one of his games, the Tony Hawk's Proving Ground. Yes.
Interesting.
There's a band on there called Deadbolt Zen. My nephew was the drummer for that band for a few years, and they cut that track specifically. Not specifically for the game, but that when they cut it shortly after that, Activision, a rep called looking for the label they went through, the independent label, looking to see if they had any hard rock bands that had any new tracks, and they sent the track, and next thing you know, boom, and then my nephew's no longer in the band, but the lead singer, who's also, the owner of the band or whatever, he received I actually talked to my nephew about this not too long ago. He received a royalty check. It's been years since Proving Ground came out. He finally got a royalty check a couple months ago, and it was like something like $20,000.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I guess what happened was I guess they just delayed it, and They just let it stockpile, and rather than just sending him a check every time. And that happens from time to time. Especially, I'm told that it's kind of a common occurrence with royalties when it comes to games, because with the bands and the voiceover, if you have additional royalties headed your way, they kind of take their time, because I guess people don't seek legal recourse right away. Well, he kind of just forgot all about it, and then my nephew
He just randomly
was,
found
having
a check for 20,000 and
well, no, he was thinking about it, and then he asked his record label. He was like, "Hey, were there any additional?" Because I think he had received some royalties at the very beginning of the game when it was first
like
released, and then he
a
didn't
half
think
now,
anything of
half
it.
later thing.
Possibly, yeah. And he didn't think anything of it, and then the record label was like, "Well, now that they mentioned it," he said right after he called, maybe like a day or two later, boom, there's a check, boom. And he's like, "Wow,
That
I
is
could have used
awesome.
Yeah, I need that cash, yeah." But if you listen to the drum track, that's my nephew cutting the drums. It's a song called "Everything Changes" by Deadbolt Zen. So
Everything changes.
Is that what it sounds like?
No, I have no idea. I'm just making shit up.
New record by Dark. Oh boy. I think for me, the longest game I've ever played, I'm not actually sure. I'd have to look at the timers, but probably a long time ago when I got Morrowind in this
Oh,
pack
hell.
of games.
Yeah, I have no idea how much time I spent on that
Yeah.
game, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I even restarted a character because my first character, I didn't expect that I would like the game so much, so I just started a character and went crazy on the town and just attacked everybody. And in that game, you can mess up.
And you killed someone who was important, and you had a doomed world you had to live in.
he kills an important NPC, and he's locked in now. So you needed to talk to this person.
I
Nope.
actually have
Slash.
a funny story of how how my experience with Morrowind when it first started. So I had a computer that wasn't a real top of the line way back when, but I liked to play games on it, and I was at Best Buy just kind of scrolling through the new release PC games because they weren't as anal about what they let sit out then, and I saw this game and it looked like the visuals looked amazing, and they were talking about the polygon count, and I'm looking at it and the art style and everything. This looks really fucking awesome, and the idea of it being open world, how the Elder Scrolls are, it just kind of blew my mind because most
Right.
games like that don't just let you go anywhere and be whatever you want. So I bought it, and my computer couldn't run it.
Oh.
So I took it over to a friend's house because his father built his own
Took his computer
built his own computers
and took it back to your
and
house.
put it in his, and it ran it up until you opened the first door at the beginning to go out to Seydanin, and it crashed.
Oh, no.
I'm like, the hell? No! And so, but at that point in time, we had seen enough of the game to where I was hooked on it, and my friend was hooked on it. And then later, the next week, he told me, he's like, Tom, I found that game, that Morrowind game, it's on the Xbox. I'm like, seriously? It's on the Xbox of all places? And because we had both had Xboxes at the time, like, okay, well, hell, I went right out and dropped $60 on it, or was it $50? I don't remember.
$50 back in that.
$50 back then, and which was a lot more to me then because I didn't have a job and I actually had to save my allowance up for it. And once I got it in, then I got past that and actually walked out into Seydanin and got to feel the world for the first time. I'm like, holy shit, it was like one of those moments the angels came down from heavens and opened up to me. Ew, it was such a good feeling. But that's my story on how I got into the Elder Scrolls series. It took a lot of work.
It was helpful that I was able to get it for a lot cheaper and both expansion packs on the disc already.
Yeah, I wound up getting that later because I wanted the expansion packs too. I'm like, yeah, I'm not about to buy the individual discs. I'll just wait for Game of the Year to come out. So I didn't get to play the expansions until
It's
like a
interesting
year and a
that
half
the
later.
stats, from Morrowind to Oblivion and Oblivion to Skyrim, they used to have all these different stats which you could increase when you leveled up, and then it was just nothing.
I think they said the tree for Morrowind was 32, and for Skyrim was 18. So yeah, it was greatly reduced by the time.
But I'm okay with that. I didn't enjoy Oblivion any less because of than I did Morrowind because of that. In Morrowind, I actually had the problem of not knowing what a lot of these stats did that you could increase, because they would explain to you what they did, but I'm like, okay, how is this any different from this other stat? Because several of
Right.
them sounded so
You
similar.
mean like acrobatics and athletics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so running is not the same as jumping. I got that, but then you could just sit there and jump in one spot over and over again, and then you'd increase in acrobatics.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that-
I'm like, okay, this is a
Yeah.
little bit silly. So I wound up getting in this groove where I would hop everywhere that I would go, just because I wanted to increase my acrobatics.
I'm not gonna lie, I did that too.
Well, that was. It seemed like it was a lot, especially because I was a Khajiit. That was a really excellent way, just hopping away from the
Yeah.
guards.
Yeah, I always played as
Same
the
here.
Argonians, and I did the same thing because they had the backwards knee, so they always looked like they'd be better hoppers. And then, did you anybody else have the experience with the Inkarian scroll of
Yes.
flight or something that you get from that guy that falls out of the
Oh
sky?
yeah.
Man, I didn't even know what I was doing. I picked that thing up,
Whee!
jumped into the air, and next thing I know, because Xbox has those loading screens every so often. I went through like 4 of those, and suddenly the mountain comes up in front of me. I'm like, shit, because you can't see it through the fog. And the mountain's there, and you hear crunch, and then the character goes, ah!
You know what?
Dead.
One time though, you know how every now and then there's these vicious sandstorms.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Yeah.
use it during a sandstorm, you could just speed along the ground and be
Really?
fine. So I was like under attack, and that was like my quick, my quick way out.
As long as you don't jump, you're okay.
Well, no, you jumped, and then the wind took you like suddenly in one direction.
Oh,
Me either.
I never tried that.
I don't know why I tried that, but I do know that happened.
I ended
to
up
me
like
once.
jumping to the top corner of the world, landing in the ocean, and swam to the closest island, and there was a shack on it with a dude who had a magical fork, an enchanted fork in his house.
I found
Like
that
the best
guy.
thing
Enchanted?
ever.
The fork
It
never
didn't-
didn't really
yeah, hurt
do
you if you
anything,
used
but
it.
yeah. That's right. That's right. It was one of the most stupidest things in the
Right.
game, but it made
Love
me
when
so
games
happy
do
when I
that kind of
found it
stuff.
because it's like, who the hell came up with this and put it in the game?
Did
I love you, whoever you are.
You probably did. Did you ever run into that Khajiit that like just said random stuff?
Yeah, the Maik the liar.
Yeah, and one thing that was really interesting is that he said, the dragons thing, and then like 2 games later, there is dragons. He's like,
And he's in the next 2 games too.
yeah, I've run
Maybe he
into him
wasn't
every
a
now
liar.
and
He
then.
was the future teller.
He's just immortal.
Yeah.
Well, he sort of is. He's like one of the developers' ways of like talking to you
Right.
about why they did
The
certain
things you
stuff.
don't realize are secrets until they are.
Yeah. Now with Morrowind, did anybody else have this experience where by the time you got to the end and had to throw down with Dagoth Ur, that they were so completely like overpowered that even though Dagoth Ur is supposed to be some sort of like god in physical form, that you completely kicked his ass without even trying?
Well, what I did I by that time I had this this flaming sword that you get from the on one of the expansion packs, and all I had to do to beat him is I had like 20 super health potions, and then I just whacked at him, and then used
I
one
didn't
every
even
time I got hurt.
I didn't even need health potions. I had so much health.
Well, I
And-
did my style. I usually just like, especially for armor space and stuff, is I just go light armor. So you probably had heavy, or you just had higher stats when you faced him.
I had really, really high stats. I'm not entirely sure how I did it, but I literally, when I was fighting him, we fell off the little platform and we fought in the lava. And so we're both standing there in the lava. My health bar is hardly even moving as we're burning alive, and I'm kicking his ass with the keening. Is that the blade that you get? And so we have our epic throwdown in a pool of lava,
Nice.
and I have to use this scroll of flight to get back out of the lava after he's dead. So I just and like by the time our battle was over, my health was only like a quarter of the way gone, and that's
You
and I'm
must
like,
have been tough then, because that wouldn't have worked for me.
yeah, I'm like I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is the boss. Like I'm like a god here,
What
and
level were you at? Do you know?
I don't remember. It was ridiculous.
But yeah, you said you played it like to the point where you were talking about cities in real life?
Yeah, well, because I would play it, and I got my sister to play it. So she had her own Xbox, her own TV, and so she bought the game. And then my friend, who I told you about earlier, he bought the game, and then two of my other friends bought the game. So we all played this game together, even though it was single player. We're all playing our own experience on it, and so we're all sharing hints with what we're learning and talking about all the locations in the game as if they're real places. We kind of creeped our parents out.
You pretty much created a Dark One Drive version of Elder Scrolls Online.
Kind of, yeah. That's exactly what it was. We were all, sometimes we'd play at the same house. We all had our 32-inch TVs that we would carry around with us when we'd go to each other's houses.
Ooh.
And so we all
those
had
were
our
tubes, right? So it's not like you were
Yes.
carrying a
Yes.
15-pound TV.
tube TVs. So
Oh, boy.
we'd bring our Xbox, we'd bring our tube TVs, and we had a bag
old days.
that had our all the routers and the switches and everything, so we could network our games together when we played Halo and stuff like that. So we always had this technology to go bundle that we had. So yeah, we had such a good time playing that game. We'd have the maps pinned up on the wall. And it was weird because we could talk about like specific people in the towns. I talked to so and so to get this and this, and like, oh, I know who that is, and so I could go find them in the game because I knew where they were at. It was an experience unlike any other. I've not had that connection with a video game since then.
Yeah, and I can
Not that
imagine just the times when I was playing it, and like one of my most fond moments is I was exploring this like new mountainous area, and it started to rain, and then it started to rain outside, and that was just like one of the most beautiful moments.
The video game world turns real.
That's why I have high hopes for Elder Scrolls Online, and
Oh yeah,
hearing the first reviews at PAX East is that it's everything that they're claiming it to be.
I
so.
love the super server idea that they're doing. I mean, if they can get that
Yes.
to work, that'll be amazing.
If they pull it off, I will be so happy.
I mean, even though the factions will like prevent me and Dark from being on the same side, the fact that I mean, the massive land, I can walk on Morrowind again, and walk on Oblivion's, Cyrodiil again.
That's what I'm curious about, like how detailed that's going to be, because Daggerfall was much bigger than Morrowind, much bigger than Oblivion, but it was just a lot of like repetitive landscape
Well, they're probably
everywhere.
going to use a lot of freedom, and it's not going to. They have a lot of room to develop places like that. Oh wait, are they going to have the Solstein Werewolf Island?
I don't know. That would be interesting.
Like, oh, and another thing is, how are you going to get? Because they mentioned in the trailer that I saw that turning into a werewolf is going to be like a perk or an ability or something, kind of like Skyrim, I'm assuming. So how are they going to get it? Are you just going to get it at a point?
Well, you have to remember too, this is an MMO, so they're not going to release everything initially. They want to be able to sell expansion packs too. So I think what you're talking about, the island. It's possible that stuff maybe maybe added on later. And as of the super server, I still see them not putting out the entire map. I see a couple of chunks possibly. You'll see Morrowind for sure, because that's what everyone wants to be in the first.
Well, I think they're
Yeah.
I think they're going to be able to handle it, and like each of the factions will start in their own faction area. Like I think the Khajiit are starting on the bottom left of the Tamriel, and like Dark would
Kind of
start.
like what EverQuest did. You just basically start completely on the other side of the map.
Yeah, we're gonna be able
I'll be
to
in
only
Black
talk
Marsh.
through messaging for like probably the first 20 levels. And also it's kind of neat that they have seem to have a really good PvP in the center, because it's like a massive war going on, and even if you're a low
Yeah.
level, you can still feel like you're contributing.
You can feel useful.
And didn't they say that it'll be able to render, like the program will be able to render up to 200 characters on the screen at one time for you?
I hope the computer would handle that, especially my laptop, but
Yeah, I may have to build a new machine just to make that the experience run buttery smooth. That would be fun.
What you can always do is you can always run dual video cards. That usually helps out.
Yeah, because this machine that I'm running on right now, it's good, but it's a couple years old now. So it's like it would be worth maybe just upgrading it, or possibly just building another machine to play Elder Scrolls Online on.
Well, I mean, it looks like it's going to be. It looks like about the same detail level as the Star Wars Old Republic game. So I don't think, since my computer, it's not that advanced. I think it will probably be about the same level. So I think since your computer is better than mine, that you'll be able to run it without, close to no problems.
All right, it looks like we're gonna have to start wrapping this one up.
Yeah, guys.
All
We're
right.
rambling on about Elder Scrolls way too long.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's at
one
least
flew-
half the
No, that was
podcast.
just.
This one
we
flew
were just
by
talking
really
about
quick.
the first game.
Yeah.
Now we're for Oblivion.
Next week, join us for
Next
Oblivion.
We'll
Video
talk about nothing except Oblivion.
Okay, the last thing I'm going to say is, since we still didn't get any, send any questions, intros that you want us to use or whatever to the forum thread at yahoo.com.
You're gonna make us sound desperate now.
Yeah. Please send us something.
Well, other than Wubbs' nonsense question.
We don't really
that
want
was-
your questions. We're just offering you the option.
Yeah,
All right,
Not even gonna bother.
we'll take what we can get, and we'll be grateful for it.
that's true.
Yes.
All right, we'll see y'all next week, folks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
And
Bye.
stop it.